Microsoft has a colorful history with open source. That is an understatement. We've moved from a very tenuous relationship with open source licenses to now embracing and enabling open source technologies on our cloud. And it has been a journey. While we won't be touching on that today, we'll definitely be looking into some of the principles that Microsoft believes in when it comes to enabling open source technologies on our cloud. And so whether you're a developer, an open source enthusiast, or maybe an organization looking to start off your open source journey, this video is for you. I'm your host, Lawrence, and let's get this show on the road. The first bit is enablement, and this is about taking open source technologies and actually enabling our cloud, Azure, to actually run them. And so whether you're looking for first-class support on something like Linux, on Azure, you have it. Whether you are running Docker containers, you have that. Whether you want to build Python applications, Java applications, it doesn't really matter. You actually can. And so it starts with enabling you to actually go in and run whatever you want on our cloud. The second bit is integration. And this means taking open source technologies and fusing them into the way our cloud works. And so when you're using something like Postgres on Azure, you're actually using Postgres. You're actually taking that community edition and running it on our cloud. When you take something like MySQL, it's exactly the same. And this could even go as far as integrating it into flows. For example, if you are running some big data crunching, you might decide to use Hadoop, and that is actually now integrated into Azure. And so we're not only enabling, but integrating. But the most important bit is the third bit, which is contribution. So it's not just about taking and using software, but most importantly, it's about giving back to the community. And Microsoft has actually been doing this for a while. Since 2004, when Bill Gates asked the company to become interoperable with open source software, this has slowly been happening, and it's actually accelerated in the last couple of years. And now we have contributions to Linux. We have contributions to almost every open source technology that you find on our cloud. And this both makes it more secure, but also more scalable and more reliable. And so this isn't just a case of taking software and using it on our cloud, but it's also about giving back. But we don't just stop there. We have the fourth key principle, which is releasing open source software. As most of you know, in the last few years, you've seen a massive amount of open source software released from Microsoft, be it things like Visual Studio Code, which is completely open source. .NET Core is now completely open source. But we've also seen other areas, other technologies made available for open source platforms. SQL Server is now runnable on Linux. And this is just a very small bit of a very, very long list that you can find in the links below. And that, ladies and gentlemen, are our key principles for open source on the cloud. It's about enablement, integration, contribution, and also releasing open source software. And with that, I hope you've learned something new and hopefully have a sort of clear idea of what we do as Microsoft when it comes to open source in the cloud. As always, this is a journey. We are learning and would love to learn from you as well. If you're interested in finding out more, please do check out more information on the links below. And as always, stay awesome.